So today we are finally going to check out the TP-Link Archer AX73, and I really think that this is one of the best affordable high performance Wi-Fi 6 routers even at 10,000 rupees or 130 US dollars, which is kind of on the higher side. Hey guys, I am Siddharth and this is the next step up from the Archer AX50 which I had reviewed earlier. So we are going to compare this with that, and I am also going to compare it with the Asus router that I had reviewed, which is also an AX5400 router like this but with a price tag of 18,000 rupees or $240, and this will give you an idea of how this compares with the cheaper and more expensive options. Inside the very smart looking box of the AX73, you get a quick start guide with some other papers. You get a 30-watt power adapter, which is quite interesting. You also get an Ethernet cable, and then finally you get to the router, from which you will have to peel all of the plastic. The AX73 has a really mature design. The 3D pattern on the top and on the wall mountable bottom of the router looks really tasteful, and it also adds a lot of ventilation to this. I don't even mind the glossy part on top, which adds a nice contrast, and the size of the router is also a little bigger than usual, which makes it look cool and high-end. We have 6 non-removable antennas on this, so you can really place them in different axes, and the green LEDs for different statuses on front don't look that premium, but at least their low brightness doesn't hurt your eyes. At the back, we have a dedicated button to turn LEDs off, along with the WPS, Wi-Fi and reset button. Then we have 4 gigabit LAN ports, a gigabit WAN port, and the power socket and button. We also have a USB 3.0 port on the side, which I like the position of because you won't have to find it at the back of the router, which can be a problem because we know how USB-A only gets inserted properly on the third try. By now, you must already know about the advantages of Wi-Fi 6. Orthogonal frequency division multiple access is of course the hottest topic of discussion among the cool kids, and features like client scheduling and other tech stuff will also help you when you have lots of devices connected in a busy wireless network area, and you may also get lower latencies while gaming over Wi-Fi. The AX73 has a 1.5 GHz triple-core CPU, support for 160 MHz width, and it is a 4x4 MoMeMo router which can help a lot with the speeds. TP-Link's web interface is quite easy to use, and it offers a lot of features in its advanced mode. You can enable LACP link aggregation for even higher speeds by combining 2 LAN ports. We have support for VLAN, you can create a guest network, and the router has WPA3 security available. You can of course share the files on a USB drive or on a hard drive on the network by connecting it to the USB port, and if you are a Mac user, you can also back up your files with support for Time Machine. I tested the performance on the USB port by connecting a hard drive, and I was able to get around 100 megabytes per second, which is the limit of the gigabit WAN port, and the Archer AX50 that I had tested earlier delivered only around 35 megabytes per second from its USB port, so it is really great to see that we don't have that kind of a limitation on this router. The router has a built-in firewall, and you can also block access to specific devices. Then we also have support for OpenVPN and PPTP VPN. The AX73 also supports OneMesh, which means that if you have one of their range extenders, you can create a mesh network, and I have been using this with my RE505X in a mesh network, and it works really well. I have 2 flats and the range extender is in the second one, so when I move between flats, my phone automatically switches between the router and the range extender while staying connected to the same SSID. It doesn't increase the speed, but it adds a lot of convenience. That being said, the router itself cannot be used as a range extender, which is a feature that you do find on Asus routers, but I will discuss more on that later. Now, one thing that I didn't talk about is that this router has combined the parental controls and quality of service features into their Home Shield service, and to enable all of the advanced features, you have to subscribe to their Home Shield Pro service, and that is quite expensive at 550 rupees monthly in India, so I don't think that anyone would be subscribing to that. But even without paying, you can access the necessary parental control and QoS features, and I don't think that extra features that you get with the paid subscription are really worth it. I tried their weekly reports and device insight, and it works fine, but it's not that useful, and I just found myself turning off those notifications. The Home Shield Pro service also offers something called IoT protection, and it allows you to set off time for parental controls, and some of these features are available on other routers without a paid subscription, but a lack of these advanced features isn't something that I consider to be a big deal. But one thing that I disliked about this whole system is that you cannot access the QoS and parental control settings from the web UI, and you have to access these settings through their TP-Link Tether app. It is a very small inconvenience, and I don't think that most people would even use these features, but I just find it dumb to have some features only accessible on the mobile app and not on the web interface. But the TP-Link Tether app itself works really well, and you can access most of the features of the web interface on it. And it is also quite easy to use, and you can also control your router when you are not connected to your local network with the TP-Link cloud. So all of that is something that I really appreciate about the TP-Link ecosystem. Alexa integration is also available on this router, so you can also use voice commands to do things like enabling or disabling guest network. Do give this video a thumbs up if you've been liking it so far, and I also have some exciting stuff coming up next, so you can also subscribe with bell. But now let's finally talk about the performance, and that is really amazing with the Archer AX73, as I was able to get almost 900 Mbps on 5 GHz with my ROG Phone 3 very close to it, while in the room next to it, the speed was still almost the same at around 862 Mbps. Even in my company office with multiple walls in between, this delivered 531 Mbps, which is a really great result. On 2.4 GHz, the performance is what you would expect, but since this router also has Wi-Fi 6 on its 2.4 GHz band, you can get around 200 Mbps, which is almost double of what you could get with Wi-Fi 5. The range of the AX73 is also above average, and it is better than TP-Link's cheaper routers, so for a single flat or home, this should easily cover it, as I was also able to get a usable signal in my second flat. Now comparing it to the much more expensive Asus RT AX82U, the performance on both of these models should mostly be similar. However, the Asus router offers many more features, controls and statistics of your network activity, and you can even do things like downloading torrents on a pen drive directly, and you can share those files on the cloud to access anywhere. Asus's mesh solution also works with their other AI mesh routers instead of requiring you to purchase an extender from their company, and you can also use the Asus router itself as a range extender, which is not possible with the Archer AX73. The AX82U also has RGB and gaming specific features, which I have covered in my review of it, so even though the performance on both of these routers is very similar, I do think that it is completely worth it to jump up to the RT AX82U if you need those features. But that router does cost 18,000 rupees or $240 US, while the AX73 comes at almost half of its price. So for people who don't need those advanced features, the AX73 is a really great value. The AX73 is also much better than Archer AX50, which is only slightly cheaper because that router didn't perform as fast, its USB port was very slow in comparison, it didn't support one mesh, it only had 2x2 MoMeMo instead of 4x4 MoMeMo, and it got very hot. The AX50 will still work well for most people, but I really think that it is completely worth it to spend a little more and get the AX73, as it is a much better router overall. So now that I have compared the AX73 to more expensive routers and less expensive routers, I hope that it must be clear why it is a really great value at its price tag. The performance is really great, the USB port is fast, it looks great and stays cool, and its feature set will also be good enough for most people. Having a dedicated range extender mode and a better implementation of Home Shield would have been nice, but I don't think that this will be an issue for most people. So with all that in mind, I really think that the AX73 is the best affordable Wi-Fi 6 router on the higher end that I have tested yet, and I will have links in the video description if you want to buy this or check its current price. And that will be it for this video. You can check out my AX50 or my Asus router review, and you can also let me know what you think about the AX73 in the comment section below. Give this video a thumbs up if you liked it or a thumbs down if you disliked it. Subscribe with bell, follow me on socials, check out my Amazon store. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.